book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 19. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thy own mother's son. The book of Psalms, chapter 55, and verse 20. He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but wars in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. The book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, the nation of Israel. The dragon is Esau, and this beast system, this Roman Empire, America, was wroth with the woman, the nation of Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God Yahweh, and the testimony of Yahweh Shah Mashiach. All praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Hawashah, Wahava Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect that seeking to be the elect of the nation of Israel. They're scattered abroad amongst the heathen, some look like the heathen, beginning with the 144,000. Preachers, teachers, and prophets, Shalom. Now I got this article, which I'm not going to read. I'm going to play the video. And right here. It says, ICE agents no longer on duty following. I'll read it from right here. ICE agents no longer on duty following Ace of Spades investigation, Department of Homeland Security says. When you watch this video, you're going to understand why Yahweh Shema should have me bring out those scriptures. Because Esau is the true thug. Esau are the true gangbangers, man. All right? Now, you got right here, The Guardian 2 hours ago, it says Trump's racist hate speech and migration crackdowns violate human rights. UN panel says. And these racist remarks and acts of hatred are against who? The so-called Negroes, Native American Indians, Hispanics, Latinos, Jamaicans, and Haitians, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, which we just read in the scriptures, man. At Revelation 12 and 17. Esau is coming down upon us. Hey, what we read in Psalms 50 and Psalms 55, that's Esau hating us. Okay, that's at peace. See, we don't bother nobody. All right? But y'all are coming after us. Why? Because it's a time of prophecy. The time where 2/3 of Israel that didn't want to take heed. Now it's the time of their judgment. Take heed to the words of Yahweh Shema Shah. Now it's the time of their judgment. And we pray that Yahweh Shema Shah watch over us to protect us that's doing this work. In truth and sincerity, calling on the names of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, Yahweh in the name of His Son Yahweh Shah. All right? Because, hey, we in this too. Because Esau going to come down on all of us. All right? But only the elect will be protected. Why? Because they put in the works, show their faith, show their works by the faith in which they believe, and have been storing their riches up in heaven, man, which is these works. All right? The elect will be protected during these times. Now, for the UN to say this, hey, man, people, hey, the people that I just named, the so-called Negroes, Native American Indians, Hispanics, Latinos, Jamaicans, Haitians, you really need to pay attention to the lessons, man. But we know only the elect are going to pay attention. The chosen, Yahweh Shema Shai, is going to give the eyesight of the Holy Spirit the breath to receive this truth. Now, you really need to take heed to what's being said here. All right? Okay? Trump's racist hate speech and migration crackdowns violate human rights, UN panel says. All right? Now, I'm going to see if I can find a video, but I want to play this first. The first one. All right? Now, we're going to get the definition of a gang and thug. Now, again, ICE agents no longer on duty following Ace of Spades investigation, Department of Homeland Security says. And though they're cracking down on 2 of these members, don't get it twisted. They are all a gang. They're in it together. All right? That's their brotherhood. Remember, the law enforcement, things of that nature, the alphabet game was always set up to come after the so-called Negroes, Native American Indians, Hispanics, Latinos, Jamaicans, and Haitians. One for the fourth, why they held by Shimon shot. Now, etymology, it says origin and history of gang. Gang, now. From Old English, gang, a going, journey, way, passage. A group of men, a set. It says also, source also of Old Saxon, Old Frisian, Danish, Dutch, Old High German, German gang, Old Norse, gang, Gothic, gag, act of going, of uncertain origin. It says, let's jump down. The sense evaluation, the sense evolution is probably via meaning a set of articles that usually are taken together and going, especially a set of tools used on the same job. And see, that's what these Edomites are, man, and these agencies, man. There are a set of tools, weapons, used to do the same job. And that's what? To come out the so-called Negroes, Native American Indians, Hispanics, Latinos, Jamaicans, and Haitians, man. And let's go back to that Revelation real quick. Revelation 12 and 13. And the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, meaning Esau and his system is falling out of power. He persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child, that's the nation of Israel. Now, we jump down to verse 15. We'll read through verse 14. And to the woman, the nation of Israel, were given 2 wings of a great eagle, meaning a way of escape, that she might fly into the wilderness and to her place where she is nourished a time and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, the southern kingdom fled 70 AD and went all throughout Europe, eastern of Asia, to Africa. But hey, ultimately, the southern kingdom of Israel came over here to the Americas with the rest of the 10 tribes of Israel, the northern kingdom. All right, we were already here after the Assyrian captivity. So we're all being nourished here for times and a half of time, which would be 350 years, okay, being comforted over here in America, man. Though we went through slavery, but you see, the time, we've been through comforting times. And remember, the scripture says, Yahweh, if it weren't for the mercy of Yahweh Shema, we would all be destroyed. That's in Psalms, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? It says, a time and a half of times from the face of the serpent. So, Yahweh Shema was shy, has been watching over us, and has not consumed all of Israel. Okay? Has not allowed Esau to consume all of us. Remember, everything is contaminated, the food, the water, the environment we live in, drugs, It says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman that might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So that's that order. That's that tool, Esau, his order, through his military, his might, his force to come down all Israel with the same what? Objective to take out the Israelites, all right? And you see that with all forms of that law enforcement and alphabet gangs, man. Alphabet agencies, all right? We've always been the targets. So again, it says, especially a set of tools used on the same job by 1620s, this had been extended in nautical speech to mean a company of workmen. And by 1630s, the word was being used with disapproving overtones for any band of persons traveling together, then a criminal gang or company, gang of thieves, gang of roughs, etc. And that's these Edomites, man. All right? It says, and we know that the gangs that our people are involved in, they were once sets or groups like community activists, man. They kept peace. All right? They were for peace, for helping the elderly, keeping the neighborhood safe. But then they got turned to, Esau turned to some nigger stuff. And Jake, they went right behind it and followed that stupidness. It says, by 1855, gang was being used in the sense group of criminal or mischievous boys in the city. In American English, especially of slaves working on plantations. Also formerly used of animals, herds, or flocks. But you see the point. You see the point. Now you get the word thug. Excuse me. Thug, noun, 1810. A member of a gang of murderers and robbers in India who strangled their victims for Mathi, thag, thak, cheat, swindler, Hindi thag. It says perhaps from Sanskrit, meaning cunning, fraudulent. It says he covers, conceals. Okay, and this the original thug was Elam. The East Indians, Persians, Iranians, all them Elamites, Elamites, not Edomites, Elam, Elam, the East Indians. They're the original thugs. And remember, Esau he's the real culture vulture. He copies everyone, every nation, man. All right, it says cunning, fraudulent, from, I can't pronounce it. It says he covers, conceals to cover it. So you see, Esau is the real thug, man. Have always been. Now you go back to Habakkuk and you see the thug is giving out the orders to his hitmen, to his foot soldiers, which are his troops, man. All right, they come out to Israel. All right, and in the midst of them coming out to Israel, hey, he gonna get some of you heathen too to do what? Fulfill his new order. So hey, whoever don't get out, hey, that's why you got to say you're gonna get down or lay down. That's Revelation 13:15. All right. So you see, we're the primary targets according to prophecy. Now, when you get Habakkuk 1 and 5, it says, "Behold, ye among," it says, "ye among the heathen and regard." Let me read that over. "Behold, ye among the heathen and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you." Excuse me. Verse 6, "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadths of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs." Now, is this not a gang of thugs? These Edomites? It says, "They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. The horses also are swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than the even wolves. And the horsemen shall spread themselves, and the horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat." And that's their military might. All right? A gang of thugs. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as a sand. So that's spoils, man. This is what they do. "And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing his power to his God." And that's a territorial takeover, man. This is what thugs do. This is what gang members do. Turf war. All right, spoils. All right. Now let's play this video, man. Esau is a real gang. Hey, they're the true thugs, man. The true gang members, man. The true hitmen. All right. ICE agents no longer on duty following Ace of Spades.
Allegedly leaving threatening Ace of Spades cards in the vehicles of people they detained in Eagle County.
That admission came on Wednesday in federal court in Denver during a hearing on ICE arrest practices. A leader in the Denver ICE office says the agents involved in the January incident are still employed and under investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. ICE is under a federal court order barring them from arresting people without warrants in Colorado unless agents determine the person as a flight risk. The federal judge hearing the case called ICE detentions in Colorado and the country unprecedented, adding that the agents he heard testify show a clear lack of training on the law and the standards set forth by DHS. Immigrants' rights groups say those Ace of Spades cars, by the way, we mentioned, are intended as an intimidation tactic and have racist connotations.
And now we've learned 2 agents who the Department of Homeland Security says are responsible are no longer involved in the field. Your reporter in the mountains, Spencer Wilson, is still trying to find out if DHS take any other action.
These cards left behind at scenes of Department of Homeland Security raids are the reason 2 ICE agents are now doing desk work, according to the department itself.
We think it's a move in the right direction. Clearly, putting folks who are under investigation off of field work is a step. That is not enough.
Alex Sanchez of Fosas Unidas was first to raise the alarm about the cards, calling them a racist form of intimidation tactics.
We have asked the congressional delegation in Colorado to demand a full investigation with the Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security. That demand stands.
His concern centers around where the cards and the behavior is coming from.
If it's rogue individuals, they should not be employed and should be nowhere near law enforcement, since their actions were undignified. And what we want to know is whether this is a policy and whether there's more to it.
DHS issued a statement months ago when the cards first came up, saying, in part, ICE is investigating this situation, but unequivocally condemns this type of action and or officer conduct. Once notified, ICE supervisors acted swiftly to address the issue. Sanchez says more needs to be done to make sure this never happens again.
This should not be a partisan thing. If you're Republican, if you're Democrat, we should all be opposed to undignified law enforcement. There's nothing dignified about using racial or racist symbolism or sending intimidation or hate symbols to any member of any community in Colorado. We should want to get to the bottom of this.
In the high country, Spencer Wilson, covering Colorado First.
We have reached out to DHS for a statement now that those officers are pulled from field duty, and we will let you know if they get back to us.
You see that? Intimidation tactics.
Pillows are
They're the
starting.
true gang members. All right? They're the true gang members. Let me see. Check this out real quick. Couple articles. It says Trump reportedly told G7 leaders that Iran is about to surrender, even as its leadership vows to fight on. This nigga is delusional, man. We told y'all he crazy. Old, senile, delusional, full of pride. And the G7, they like, man, shut up, man. Right here it says 7 ships attacking Persian Gulf Strait of Hormuz. It says nobody gives a F about housing. Trump reportedly demanded housing bill be shelved with stunning comment to speaker. So I had to go to show you, man, they don't care about your well-being. Your shame being covered, which is your home. Alright? In other words, they don't care about nobody. Alright? Let me see. Where is it? Yeah. Let's see if we can find this video. Trump's racist hate speech and migration crackdowns violate human rights. UN panel says, now let me pause this and see if I can find the video.
You are in news.
The United Nations Anti-Racism Committee is warning that racist rhetoric from U.S. political leaders, including President Trump, is helping drive human rights abuses against migrants and asylum seekers. In a decision released March 11th, the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination said ICE and customs officers have used racial profiling, arbitrary identity checks, and aggressive enforcement that has swept up people perceived to be Hispanic, African, or Asian. The panel also blasted the administration for allowing immigration arrests near schools, hospitals, and houses of worship, saying the move is now keeping vulnerable families away from health care, education, and other essential services. The committee says at least 8 people have died since January 2026 during ICE operations or in ICE custody, and it's urging the U.S. to suspend those kinds of enforcement actions and publicly condemn racist hate speech. The White House pushed back, calling those biased. For AURN News, I'm Ebony McMorris.
Imagine waking up to a political storm that stretches far beyond Washington, crossing oceans and igniting debate in international institutions, a storm where words spoken at campaign rallies and press briefings echo across global diplomatic halls. In the center of that storm stands the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and now a warning from the United Nations suggests that those words could have consequences far more serious than political controversy. A United Nations watchdog has issued this warning, arguing that immigration rhetoric used by President Trump and other political figures in the United States may contribute to racial discrimination and potentially incite hate crimes. The warning comes from the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, a panel of independent experts tasked with monitoring racism and discrimination around the world. Their report paints a troubling picture. According to the committee, the way migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers are described by influential public figures, particularly those holding the highest offices of the state, can shape public attitudes in powerful ways. When migrants are portrayed as criminals, threats, or burdens on society, the report warns, those narratives can fuel hostility, discrimination, and even violence. For the United Nations Committee, the concern is not simply about political rhetoric, it is about the broader impact that such rhetoric can have on communities, policies, and social tensions. The report calls on the United States to respect international human rights law and to review certain aspects of its immigration policies. It specifically raises concerns about immigration enforcement practices that the panel believes may disproportionately target migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers or individuals who are perceived to belong to those groups. At the heart of the controversy lies one of the most polarizing issues in American politics: immigration. Since returning to power, President Trump has pushed forward with an aggressive immigration enforcement strategy, fulfilling a central promise of his campaign. His administration has prioritized large-scale deportation efforts and expanded the role of federal immigration agents across several major cities. Supporters argue these policies are necessary to restore law and order at the border and within American communities. Critics, however, say the policies risk targeting vulnerable populations and creating an atmosphere of fear among immigrant communities. The United Nations report highlights a particular operation that intensified these concerns. Known as Operation Metro Surge, the immigration enforcement campaign took place in Minnesota and involved a major deployment of federal agents tasked with identifying and detaining undocumented migrants. What began as an enforcement operation quickly escalated into a national controversy. During the operation, two individuals, identified as Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were killed during encounters with federal agents. Both were American citizens. The deaths triggered protests across the country. Demonstrators filled streets in several cities demanding investigations and accountability. Civil rights organizations argued that the incident represented a severe abuse of power and a violation of human rights. The UN committee echoed these concerns in its report, describing the shootings as gross violations of international human rights law. The backlash forced the administration to adjust its approach. In response to mounting criticism and protests, federal authorities scaled down immigration enforcement operations in Minnesota, but the debate over immigration enforcement and the language used to justify it has continued to intensify. In its report, the United Nations panel expressed deep concern over what it described as a growing use of racist hate speech within political discourse. According to the committee, derogatory and dehumanizing language directed toward migrants and refugees has become more visible in political rhetoric. Such language, the report argues, can normalize discrimination and reinforce harmful stereotypes. The committee pointed to several examples of controversial statements made by President Trump in recent months. One of the most widely criticized remarks occurred during a speech in December when Trump said Somali immigrants should go back to where they came from. In the same speech, he warned that the United States would be going the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Those comments triggered widespread backlash from civil rights groups, immigrant advocacy organizations, and several political leaders. For critics, the statements crossed a dangerous line, portraying entire communities as threats or burdens. For supporters, however, the comments reflected frustration with immigration policies and concerns about national security. The divide illustrates the deep political polarization surrounding immigration in the United States. While the United Nations report criticizes the rhetoric and policies of the Trump administration, the response from the White House was swift and dismissive. A White House spokesperson rejected the report outright, calling it biased and politically motivated. According to the administration, the United Nations panel lacks credibility and fails to recognize the realities facing American communities dealing with illegal immigration and border security challenges. Officials argue that the president's policies have made the country safer and stronger. From the administration's perspective, immigration enforcement is not about discrimination. It is about protecting national sovereignty and enforcing existing laws. This clash between international criticism and domestic political priorities highlights a broader question. Who defines the standards of human rights and immigration policy? The United Nations operates on the belief that certain principles, such as equality, dignity, and protection from discrimination, should apply universally. Its committees are designed to monitor whether countries are meeting those commitments. However, many governments, including the United States at times, have pushed back against what they see as external interference in domestic policy. For Washington, immigration policy remains a matter of national sovereignty. For international observers, however, the issue often extends beyond borders, particularly when human rights obligations are involved. The tension between those perspectives has played out repeatedly over the years. Interestingly, the UN Committee has previously criticized multiple U.S. administrations on issues related to racial discrimination. Reports during the presidencies of Barack Obama and Joe Biden also highlighted concerns about systemic racism and inequality. This pattern underscores that international scrutiny of the United States is not limited to any single political party. But under President Trump, immigration has become the focal point of that scrutiny. As the debate continues, the political implications could be significant. Immigration remains one of the most powerful and emotionally charged issues in American politics. For many voters, it represents questions about national identity, security, economic opportunity, and cultural change. Trump's tough stance on immigration played a key role in mobilizing his supporters during the election campaign. Promises to strengthen the border, expand deportations, and reduce illegal immigration resonated strongly with parts of the electorate. At the same time, those policies have sparked intense opposition among critics who argue that they undermine civil rights and damage America's global reputation. The warning from the United Nations adds another layer to that debate. If the rhetoric surrounding immigration continues to escalate, international organizations fear it could contribute to rising tensions within communities and potentially lead to discriminatory behavior or hate crimes. Whether those warnings will influence U.S. policy remains uncertain. Historically, American administrations have often resisted pressure from international bodies when it comes to domestic political issues. Yet the broader conversation about immigration, human rights, and political language is unlikely to fade anytime soon. Because in the modern world, words spoken in one country can reverberate far beyond its borders. And as the debate over immigration continues to unfold, one question remains at the center of the controversy. Are these policies and statements simply political rhetoric in a heated debate about national security? Or do they represent a deeper shift in how migrants and refugees are viewed in one of the world's most powerful democracies? The answer to that question may shape not only the future of immigration policy in the United States, but also the global conversation about human rights, political responsibility, and the power of words in shaping societies.